Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm delighted to have you on at our Building Leadership Resilience webinar. I welcome you. I'm Janice Glenn. I've been with National Service for over 20 years, and as a trainer, coach, facilitator, I do the PSO classics and the PSO blends, and have the privilege of working with our beloved VISTA leaders in action learning, and I'm delighted to have you all. So we will ask you, my colleague Kapila is on with us, and we will ask you after this is over if you would please just fill in a very brief survey that gives us feedback on how we can improve and on how we can, give you the topics that you so need and want to be successful VISTA leaders. So thank you and welcome. I want this to be as interactive as absolutely possible, so we will use this chat function and to share thoughts, ideas, to share stories. It's at 2 points in the agenda. We will have time for you to really just communicate with each other, and I'd like you to do that through the chat. And please make sure when you're doing it through the chat that you say to everyone, or to all participants. This way, we all get the benefit of your wonderful wisdom. Okay, so thank you for that. So our topic, building leadership resilience, is something that I've done before and that has been very well received by VISTA leaders. It is something that we all need to develop. So let me just show you our agenda for our time together. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick overview, sort of big picture definition. What do we mean by leadership resilience? And then we'll talk about strategies to build leadership resilience. And then I want to turn it over to you to communicate through the chat, to tell us, experiences you have yourself demonstrating resilience as your leadership role as VISTA leaders, how you've demonstrated resilience. If you're a VISTA, what specifically have specific scenarios, specific stories that we want you to share. Then we'll talk about practices of resilient leaders, a little more about strategies, how to build it, how to strengthen it, and then we'll open it up for Q&A and reflection. And I'd like for you all to think about one takeaway from this webinar that you would begin to practice or begin to learn more about, and then I'll share some resources for further study. Okay? All right. And please feel free throughout this, because I don't like to just talk. Please, there are 2 sections for us to chat within the agenda, but I'd like you to feel comfortable just chatting away. If there's a question that comes up while I'm presenting these slides, please feel free to communicate. Okay, so I want you to feel as comfortable as possible to talk with us. All right? All right, so resilience defined. This is by Rosabeth Moss Kanter. She is a Harvard professor in the business school, and I've read a book by her called Confidence, and I highly recommend it. It is listed in our resources at the end of the webinar. She talks about resilience as a capacity to bounce back, as a way to thrive during times of challenge and change. She talks about surprises are the new normal. It's, and resilience is a new skill of leadership, particularly in our disruptive, fast-paced, multitasking world. That resilience has become a skill that is critical for successful leaders. So this is why I've been focusing on this topic as a webinar topic. So resilience can be learned. It's a learned behavior, and it is a vital skill for leaders. me just change this. Okay, so a little more about the definition of it. Rosa Beth Moss Kanter talks about embracing failure. She talks about seeing challenges and failure to see that as an opportunity for growth. Also, Amy Cuddy, who is an author of a book called Presence. She's also done a TED Talk, and I see you all saying hello to yourself, and that's hello to your colleagues, and that's wonderful. Keep going. So Amy Cuddy, who has done an amazing TED Talk, and she has a book called Presence. She talks about challenges and when we make mistakes, how to learn from them. She talks about challenges as a magnificent gift that ignite our imagination and help us to go farther than we ever thought we could go. So this is sort of the stepping stones of building leadership resilience. So back to Rosa Beth Moss Kanter talks about these 5 characteristics. Again, being able to bounce back, or what I like to say, bounce forward, being flexible, adaptable, being accountable. Yes, Amy Cuddy is wonderful, yes. Initiative, taking initiative, and collaboration. You know, we're all in this together. We can't do it alone. We are interdependent, and recognizing that is critically important. I want to share with you 2 organizational examples of being resilient. Southwest Airlines has tremendous resilience, demonstrated that through numerous financial and national challenges, particularly around 9/11. They demonstrated deep commitments to its employees, holding firm to its no layoffs even after 9/11. And their culture celebrates with positivity and humor. Another a country, Rwanda, that has demonstrated amazing resilience is the recovery effort after that horrific genocide in 1944 has been an extraordinary demonstration of resilience. The Hutus and the Tutsis live together in peace, and the country has one of the world's fastest growing economies. At least 1 million Rwandans have been lifted out of poverty in just 5 years. And of course, that is our focus as VISTAs and VISTA leaders, is eradicating poverty. So again, demonstrating the power of resilience. And as we see what's going on in the world now, Mexico, the earthquakes, the hurricanes, it's vitally important that we all develop resilience in our personal and our professional lives. Okay, so I wanted to share with you this acronym. And yes, Joan, thank you for sharing. Yeah, the Rwanda genocide. Unbelievable. So this is REAL. This comes from the Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania. They've done a lot of research on resilience. So REAL is about relationships, building positive, trusting relationships. We all do that when we start our PSO, that learning community, bonding as a team. We're all in this together. So that harnessing the power of connection, relationships, critical. Efficacy, believing that we can make a difference and that we have some control and that our actions matter. Positive effect, you know, that sort of attitude, if you will, of your attitude, sharing positive emotions, joy, gratitude, satisfaction, peace. That lowers our blood pressure. All these things build resilience. And then L for learning. When we find lessons that have meaning and peace, our challenges and our traumas and stress, we're better able to move on, to grow and be strengthened from it. And I see Alan is saying, yes, yes, I will put my email address at the end, and if you want the slides, I'm happy to share. And that's your strength, Ayana. Thank you. Smile. This is wonderful. I love this engagement. Thank you. Keep going. All right. So words matter. You know, let's imagine the possibilities. Let's imagine them. Okay? Changes everyone's attitude here. Now, okay, here's where I'm going to turn it over to you a little bit. How do I become more resilient? So I would like you to think about a time in your personal and professional life. Um, what's happening with your vistas? What's going on for you? What are the challenges that you're experiencing, or as VISTA leaders that your VISTA members are experiencing? That some have moved, a lot have relocated. They have new communities, new organizational culture, new relationships. That's quite daunting. So think about that, and I'm going to ask you, here's what you're going to ask yourself when you think about these scenarios, okay? So just some questions to get you thinking about what, what the scenarios are that you want to share, stories. What happened? What was I thinking and feeling? How did I get through it? What did I do that helped me get through this? And what did I learn? So please take it away to my, yes. Okay, Carmen, thanks. Excellent information. Share some stories. When have you demonstrated resilience? When have you witnessed resilience in a leader or in a VISTA? Please share in the chat. Oh, wow. Multiple deaths in the family. Oh, Mia, thank you for sharing that. That certainly during temporarily, oh my goodness, okay. And the single mom, wow. Yes, we will send her good energy. That is daunting. Yes, and it is something that we can all develop. That's awful. And are you a VISTA leader, Mia? So you are supporting this VISTA? Who's a breast cancer survivor? Doing her best. I just try and help. Thank you. One day at a time. Absolutely. Yes, I'm a VISTA leader, Mia. Yes. Witnessed resilience in my children, having a mother who's differently abled. Maria, thank you. Yes. Children have amazing resilience, don't they? They have amazing resilience. Often they can teach us resilience. Okay, differently able in a different way. Let's chat. Okay. My personal life, I had to learn to be resilient. Yes, absolutely. These are all the things that strengthen that resilience too, clearly demonstrating the resilience. One day at a time, checking expectations. Absolutely. And Nancy, yes, hang in there. Wonderful support of your community too. Thank you all. These are great examples, specific examples of your own resilience, of resilience you've seen in your vistas, in your colleagues. Absolutely. Taking care of your mom when she became disabled. Absolutely. I'm right there with you, taking care of my mom as well. Absolutely, Judy. Thank you. And different abled in college and failing classes and moving forward. Absolutely. Rosa, thank you. Congratulations. These are all amazing stories. Yes. Oh, good analogy. The ship captain of the Titanic, absolutely. Yes, it's inspiring, isn't it, to see people demonstrate these resilience. Yes. Yes, the work-life balance. That's something we can all relate to. Diana, thank you. Anything else you'd like to share? These are wonderful, wonderful examples. Okay, I feel you, Rosa. All right. Thank you for that. We'll have more, please, as I said, please continue to communicate, and we'll have more time for Q&A and all that good stuff, but I'd love to hear your comments and questions. Just a couple inspiring quotes, and please keep sharing and talking. Amy Cuddy, again, I just really was impressed by her work. She is someone who had a tragic accident and really did a lot of data collecting and reflection and research. So she's the one that talks about looking at our challenges, limitations, not as something negative, but as blessings. As I said in the beginning with the quote, as magnificent gifts. Yes, and I add to that, Chelsea, everyone's well wishes and strengths for your challenges. Yeah, they are magnificent gifts and blessings, and to allow us to see, you know, to see how far we can go, never believing we could think we could go that far. And then Sheryl Sandberg, also, I don't know if you've heard of her book, Option B. I've read it and I've seen her speak, and I was very moved by it. And you know, she clearly, you know, has great resilience and is now an advocate for developing resilience with her in her organization and with her Lean In groups. So, two good quotes about adversity and resilience. So. Just some slides here. I don't want to do death by PowerPoint, which is what Steve Jobs calls PowerPoint, or he did. But I wanted to share with you, in thinking about building and strengthening the resilience, clearly you all have already, and to keep building upon it, is to think of different domains. Your physical domain. What can you do to build your physical energy? Mental. What can you do to overcome mental fatigue and exhaustion? And emotional, how can you become more conscious of emotional triggers? So in thinking about these domains, you can sort of categorize in a way how you can build your resilience. So social, our relationships are critical. We are interdependent. How do we create more meaningful and productive relationships? That is what gets us through. Yes, and Jody writes something important. I think the human race is a perfect example of resilience. Absolutely. Spirituality, what about that domain? What can you do more effectively align your behaviors with your core value, your purpose, your value and purpose? So again, just a few more ideas about leaders needing this resilience and agility to thrive in our disruptive, fast-paced world. A leader mindset is being positive, focused and flexible, deal with reality, making meaning, and improvise. You have to be somewhat flexible and adaptable. Okay, this all leads into Dr. Daniel Goleman. I hope you've read some of his work. I think as VISTA leaders and as VISTA's emotional intelligence, social intelligence is vitally important to build resilience and to be a resilient leader. And when you're a resilient leader, you become a magnet. You for, how we all struggle with recruitment. Well, when you can embody resilience and be a role model of resilience, you become a magnet and you attract people who are resilient. You attract talent. You attract people who are committed. So this is all, as again, we're also interconnected. So this is important stuff. And I think the emotional intelligence competencies you see here of self-awareness, in managing ourselves, in managing relationships, and being aware of others is critical part of that resilient leadership piece. Okay, pathway to resilient leadership. Most importantly, self-awareness. Yeah, and improvisation, conversation going on in our chat about the ability to be flexible, builds the skill of improvisation. Absolutely, leaders need to be able to switch on a dime. We really need to, and to improvise, to come up with creative solutions in a moment's notice, because of our fast-paced, multitasking, incredible light speed of the way we operate now in this world. So self-awareness, again, this comes back to Daniel Goleman again. Self-awareness is an emotional intelligence competency, but mindfulness, Jon Kabat-Zinn. So I'm going to throw this out to you all again as part of our chat. How many of you take a moment to practice mindfulness? It could be 2 minutes of deep breathing or 2 minutes to stop what you're doing. There is a whole element of mindful leadership, and I'm thinking of doing a webinar on the mindful leader. So somebody's, Katie's saying absolutely, yeah, strength. What about mindfulness? Anybody? It doesn't have to be a formal meditation. Daily for you, Maria. Okay, wonderful. It can be 2 minutes. There are some apps. One's called Calm. There's Headspace, and it just gives you that 2 minutes. Deep breathing changes you physiologically. Yoga. Look through a kaleidoscope. Great, wow, great wisdom in our learning community here. Wonderful. Kaleidoscope for Headspace. Happy photos, absolutely. A wonderful strategy to, anxiety. Step back a moment, reflect. Wonderful. Wow, these are great. Dance to your favorite song. Dancing is great stress release, absolutely. Mindfulness can be in a walk. You can walk, you can dance, and you can do some deep breathing. It takes many different forms. These are wonderful examples, and good sport, absolutely. Physical exercise, moving our bodies. Yoga is fabulous. Shine text, Tashara, thanks. Sleep, all these we'll talk about absolutely our self-care, all part of it. So mindfulness, as we're thinking about mindfulness, and a lot of you are all practicing this already, Google, they do mindfulness. It's part of Google's culture. Genentech, Target, Eileen Fisher, these are prominent organizations that have integrated mindfulness practices into their leadership training, into their organizational culture. So a good lesson for us to begin to do that. Good lesson for us, mindfulness. I think I'll do a mindful leader webinar. Okay, so back to our acronym of REAL. Again, the source of this is work that I've actually done at UPenn for my master's program. And so action steps to build leadership. So one thing you can do, please do a mindful leadership webinar. Thank you, Maria. I'm going to do that. Thank you. So relationships, critical, right? Critical. take an action step. Are there people you can turn to, mentors, your supervisor, your someone you want to consult with? Can you set up monthly lunch, a regular phone call? So actually, structure the relationship so that you can meet with this person often, so that you can connect, so you can build and cultivate that relationship. And then you can coach and mentor your VISTAs, which I know VISTA leaders all do, and encourage them to build their own network of support. We get by with the help of our friends. I think that's a song, right, from the Beatles, and it's absolutely true. So, okay, our acronym again, efficacy. To enhance your efficacy, allow your VISTAs, and I know you all do this. When Tushara's sharing Shine Text, thank you, Tushara. To enhance efficacy, you all do this. Allow your VISTAs to have their voice, to share their ideas, to set inspiring goals, to provide a means for them to take action. That is ultimately outstanding leadership, is to develop our people, to encourage our people, to make them better than us, Okay, so affect, again, positive affect, the relationships. Yes, so Jeffrey's sharing about the importance of relationships. Absolutely. Our relationships, it's what makes us human. It's our incredible, we get by with our friends and family and our connection. It's what keeps us going. So in thinking about the positive affect, and I'm sorry I made the print here is a little bit small, but it is basically about, praise and humor and fun and sharing positive emotions, and even if you feel low, to try and, fake it till you make it, or fake it until you become it, so that you are a person that sheds positive energy, because positive energy is contagious. So I like what Joan is saying about, things to do at work to celebrate work successes, anniversaries, personal events. Absolutely. That creates a culture of valuing our people. And that's an action that we can all do. And another action step on the acronym of REAL are learning. After action reviews is the way people do it. In our action learning coaching that Kapila and I do with our VISTA leaders, it's about reflection. We don't just learn from action. We learn from reflecting on that action, from taking time out and looking at what happened and learning from our missteps and, learning and making that be part of the culture, because this is about building a resilient culture too, that we look at our mistakes. When we do make a mistake, we jump in, fix it, and talk about it, reflect on it. What's worked, what hasn't? 20-minute office parties, absolutely. Yes, these are great comments and conversation here, and good resources that we're all sharing. So another just quote that I'd like to just reinforce: resilient leadership requires strong, aligned leaders who are willing to look at your own transformation first. Clearly, it all begins with us, how we show up, and being that role model, always seeking feedback. A resilient leader always seeks feedback, always wants to be better, always wants to do that. Okay. All right. I love that you're all connecting, and Kapila, Maria's connecting with Kapila. Wonderful. Okay, so this next piece, and again, we're going to, after we look at this, I want to open it up again to talk about how we might bring out resilience within with our VISTAs, with our VISTAs, with our volunteers, supervisors, our staff at our organization. So this is something, this particular slide or these questions, you can actually use at a staff meeting. You talk about a challenge, here's what we're facing, and focus on resilience. So what's the best opportunity this situation can lead to? What are the best lessons, skills, habits? You know, what can we learn? What about the challenge? I like this, puts a bounce in your step. You know, remember, we want to see challenges as magnificent gifts. Remember what Amy Cuddy says. Magnificent gifts is a challenge. So how do we want to use these challenges? Okay. So let's, so could you share with us how you might use these questions at your sites with your vistas? You know, how you might use these to turn a challenge into something that's a gift and use these questions to bring out resilience. I'll let you think about that, and please respond in the chat. Oh, good. So Diana used humor because they were just confused about their assignment. Oh, and that happens so much. Good. Wonderful. And Rosalind, yes. Vista said to have relocated. Huge challenge that can be seen as a gift to learn and grow. Great example. These are great examples. Awesome to ask our vistas. Okay, Jeffrey, good. Yes, use these questions. I found them very compelling and very, it's a nice structure to go by to get people to think of resilience as something that they can learn and grow. So I like that. Any other thoughts about these questions, how you might use them? Yes, good. That's a good point. Different learning styles. Absolutely. You have to cultivate your people and recognize that the differences and celebrate those differences and tap people's strengths and people's passion and purpose. And Tushar saying about navigating a change, absolutely. These questions can definitely be used for change. What if everyone fasted for a day? Good question. Oh, good. I like that Joan shared with, yeah, you want to generate positive thinking and great examples. Great examples. Love these. What if people saw better in the dark? Mm-hmm. Opportunity thinking, Molly says. I love this. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Erin's already seeing a challenge turn into a magnificent gift or opportunity to develop self-discipline and prioritization. Thank you, Erin, for sharing that. Strengths-based work. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. These are great. You all are amazing with your leadership. Mm-hmm. All right. Yes, the resilient people they're calm, they're energized, they're engaged, focused, creative, and a resilient organization really serves with vision, with humility, um, with care. And you're adaptive and innovative and tenacious in not letting challenges get us down, but seeing them as gifts. And those kinds of organizations, resilient organizational cultures, are really a force for good. They're a force for good. So it's just in my own personal and professional development, I'm working on building resilience, and that's why I really celebrate all the good stuff that you are sharing with your colleagues here. Just vitally important work that you're doing. So I thank you for that. A lot of these questions, the source for some of these questions, some were my own, and a couple I got from something called the Resilience Institute, which also has some great resources for us to look at, and I'm going to add that to your list of resources at the end. Okay. But yeah, this is a chance to use these questions as part of your staff meeting. You know, just to say, we're going to talk about resilience. Look at the things we have, and here's what we can do. And to pull out the resilience that people do have already, and that people can still continue to develop. All right, I'll just again, just some resources for you to think about, and you can share, again, this presentation if it's helpful to you to share with your staff and your VISTAs and volunteers. But practices of resilient leaders, you know, again, the personal renewal, taking care of yourself is critical, because if you have challenges and you're not taking care of yourself and you're depleted, that's not going to help you to be resilient. Watch your mouth, use your words carefully. Words matter. The tone matters too, as Jeffrey's saying, absolutely. With, you know, your tone of respect, of compassion, all that is contagious. It builds a culture of respect and resilience. Stay optimistic. We talked a lot about how to be positive, how to make people smile. You know, blunt the impact of setbacks. When there are mistakes, when something happens that didn't go well, which happens at all our sites. I mean, you all are dealing with poverty. It's daunting. You definitely need resilience, and you'll see resilience in the communities that you serve. There is resilience out there, tremendous resilience. But yes, you know, say the organization makes a mistake, someone makes a mistake, that's fine. You don't sit on it, you don't waste time, you blunt the impact of setbacks. Move quickly. Okay, something happened that didn't go well. How are we gonna, you know, what are we gonna learn from it? You know, how can we remedy it? We can learn from it. Let's reflect on our mistakes and have everybody contribute to what we can do better. What we can do better. So you want to just really say, oh, I'm sorry, that didn't go well. How can we, you know, how can we make that better? Okay. All right. And thank you for sharing all your great resources. Cultivate networks. We talked about the importance of building those relationships so that when things do happen, we have a network of support. And Jeffrey sharing fatalistic, poverty-stricken. Absolutely. People living in poverty, talk about examples of resilience. It is profound. Practice 6, see patterns, use insights for change. These are just something I added here for you to sort of, for this all to sink in, but it's surely, you're all demonstrating tremendous resilience in learning about this. So a quote, again, I love quotes, but try the rough water as well as the smooth. Rough water can teach lessons worth knowing. And I think that's a good quote. So let's just have a Q&A, please, to think about choosing resilience, because resilience is a choice. It is a learnable behavior. It must be practiced. So what questions do you have? What's on your mind? Share some feedback, some questions, and then I'd like to go to the next question about a takeaway. If you want to put that together, what's on your mind and what you will take away, that's fine. Okay. Okay, so Diana had a question about, she's optimistic. Absolutely, Diana has a great question about, you know, it sounds like she's optimistic and warm and vivacious, and sometimes it feels like a silliness, and how can you bring that into your being professional? And absolutely, people, you know, and I would also want to share the wisdom in this group to respond to Diana's question, and Chelsea's already doing that, interested in balancing professionalism and playful. And that's, Chelsea brought up a good word, and it is balance. Clearly, you can't be so playful and silly and you know, just sort of having this sort of energy without, you know, getting to the serious stuff. And you all are working with certainly a serious topic and helping alleviate poverty. So, but people respond when they are heard. They do need to, if you can think of the playful, fun part as a section of the agenda, and that's the part where people can feel a little relaxed and have some fun, that's okay. And then the word is balance, as Chelsea put forward, because then there is a point where you do want to own your authority and your authenticity to really get into serious discussion. So it's a balance. But having both is really where resilience does show up. So lots of good suggestions and comments here. Yeah, how do you not let it break your heart? Yeah, the news feeds. Okay, so thank you for sharing all this great wisdom. You do have to take care of yourself. I would say with news feeds and the darker things of our time, to sort of step away a little, you know, do that mindfulness, take those deep breaths, go to the Calm app and, you know, give yourself permission to do that. That's not taking time away. That's improving your leadership. I think that's an important point. You know, and there is that balancing of fun and seriousness. And think of fun as nurturance, not just frivolous fun, but self-nurturing and nurturing your team. It does take practice, absolutely. Good comments and responses to Diana's question that she posed. It does take practice. Resilience takes practice. Balancing, engaging people and being lighthearted so that they feel relaxed with dealing with what you're dealing with in your communities. It does take practice, and it is a balance. Compassion fatigue, absolutely, that is real. You have to really be mindful of that, too, with what you're all dealing with. Fighting poverty is just so challenging. It's so hard. So positive news. Good question. So how can we balance what we're hearing and seeing too in our news feeds? How do we find those things that uplift us? Yeah, journaling is so vitally important. And another thing I would suggest when you're looking for ways to stay positive is to be grateful for what you have. When you start looking at gratitude, that is when you can build in the positive. When you can see, well, look at what I have. Inspirational TED Talks, quotes, gratitude. Jody, thank you. You've got it. Good News Network. These are fabulous. TED Talks are wonderful. So Rosa asks a good question. How do we negotiate relationships of power and still be resilient and confident in our ability to make change? Mother Earth News, these are still talking about positive things. Let's look at Rosa's question if we can. I'd like us to think about that. That's a great question. Okay, so Maria's sharing some great tools to regain balance. Stand tall and assert the space we take. Rosa, talk a little bit more about what do you mean about the relationship of power? Do you mean like a supervisor or, an executive director? Like how do you negotiate that? Okay, and more great stuff about TED Talk. I gotta watch the time here. Okay, we're good. Yeah, I think that's what Rosa was getting to, Jeffrey. Good point. Like the powers that be that control the community. So how do we deal with that? How do we, again, when you embody resilience, it becomes part of who you are, and you do stand in a place of positivity, of strength, and being a role model and authentic. That is how that shows up. That's contagious, and people are curious about that. So that might be a way, Rosa, and I'm happy to, if you want to email me, to talk a little more about some specific thing you're dealing with, but I hope that some of these suggestions have brought you some ideas of how to deal with that. Ageism. Okay, great. These are great questions, and I actually thought of a webinar on ageism too. How do you, if you're in your 20s and yet you're dealing with someone who is a 20-year veteran, and navigate those power relationships? I think that these are fabulous scenarios, and I wish we had a whole other hour to talk about that, but I think good topics for things that we could work on. But, there are, there are relationships of power. Clearly, you have supervisors, you have, bosses, you have executive directors, board of directors. The way you navigate that is to constantly, ask questions with respect, always with respect. But if you want to navigate those kind of relationships to honor that power without giving up your own power is the navigation, okay? It's about, oh, here's somebody, Jeffrey's 52, refuse to stop learning, love learning from young vistas. Absolutely, the intergenerational that is how we learn too. That's a very, just an incredible opportunity. So again, remember, resilience is about looking at a challenge as a magnificent gift. What a magnificent gift to learn from people who have lived, are from other generations. And for us, as myself being one of those older generations or seasoned generation, to be able to work with my Vistas at my PSOs, my Vista leaders, huge opportunity, magnificent gift, as Amy Cuddy puts it, to learn. And we learn from people who are from our bosses. They learn from us. It's that sort of creating that sort of culture. But great topic, and I really see that as something that we can really share on another webinar about intergenerational. How do we do that? Honoring the power without giving up your own. Yes, absolutely. Very good. Honoring your power with their power without giving up your own. Thank you, Chelsea, for bringing that out. Wow, this has been wonderful. I mean, the time has blown by, and I am just really impressed with the level of conversation and with all of your wisdom, your specific scenarios of resilience. Oh, Dallas in December, Vista Leader Conference. Well, thank you, Jeffrey. I wish I could be there. Maybe I'll come as a participant. I think Kapila will be there, and he is wonderful. So you will be in good hands, Jeffrey. And Aiden, thank you for sharing. But I could stay on for another hour. I do want to thank you all. So can you say one thing, just one takeaway? Maybe just 3 or 4 of us, one takeaway from this conversation, which it was a webinar, but I think a very engaging conversation. And let me put in my my email. Those of you that want this, if you want to talk to me, or if you just want the slides, there it is, okay? Please write it down and send me a note. I'd love to hear from you. I think we have some great ideas about other webinars that would be helpful, like the Mindful Leader and intergenerational learning. Many takeaways. Thank you, Jody, thanks. Oh, absolutely. You're in good hands with Kapila. Absolutely. Honoring their power without giving up your own. Okay, a good takeaway. All right. Well, this has just been fantastic, and I'm going to show you the resources I have here. Resources on resilience for your continued reading and learning pleasure. It's a great honor to be with you today. I really have enjoyed every moment of it. And, webinars can be quite, I feel like I'm talking to myself, but today I did not. I felt like we were all just yakking away and chatting and sharing great ideas with each other. And thank you so much. And I recognize a lot of names that I've worked with. So I thank you for that too. So here's resources, and there are many more. You can email me if you want the slides, or if you just want to continue talking. Okay, and Maria, thank you. Next seminar coming up. I'm going to ask you if you would, Kapila, if you wouldn't mind sharing the poll, and please take a moment. Don't leave yet. You only have about 5 more minutes, and I'd love for you to do this poll. It helps us and gives us feedback. So thank you all. It is an honor. You all make the world a better place for all of us. So thank you for your continued work. It is a great honor to work with you. And I will say goodbye, and be well, be strong, take care.